Hello and welcome to the Tea Party Hardy channel. This is a video that is going to be a very brief history of the history of World War I and how it connects to Veterans Day. But most importantly, for those of you who just want to know, seriously, what is this video all about? It's my way of saying thank you to all the veterans. Because it's Veterans Day and the pandemic is still going and the state I live in is still mostly under lockdown, we were not able to get together and do the things that we typically do to celebrate the holiday and give thanks in person to the soldiers. So I'm going to make this video as a way of saying, hey, we didn't forget about you. We're absolutely still thinking of you, and we're very, very grateful for all that you do. So thank you very much. So a very brief history of Veterans Day. Veterans Day is on November 11th because on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month in the year 1918, the Armistice was finally signed to cease fire for World War I. And what a very glorious moment that was. World War I has the highest rate of casualties compared to any other military excursion on planet Earth to this day. A lot of people died. If you're not familiar with World War I, the basics of it are trench warfare, and what they were doing is, as every war does, they're using the tactics from the prior era, which basically was the Napoleonic Wars, but now we had rapid-fire guns, rifles, everything was just way, way more advanced except the human flesh. So therefore, what happened was you had these trenches because they got bogged down, and so like, well, dig a hole, and next thing you know, that hole became a trench, and they lived in them for 3, 4, 5 years. It was beyond miserable. They didn't make a lot of movies about World War I for decades and decades and decades. In fact, they've made more movies about World War I, in my approximation, in the last 10 years than they have combined before that, at least in American and I would say probably Euro cinema. The best World War I movie I've seen wasn't 1917. It was Joy Noel, and it is a mixed language movie, mostly not in English, but wow, is it good. It tells the story, fictionalized, of Christmas Eve on the front lines, and this really did happen, where they started singing Christmas songs, and both sides joined together on no man's land without killing each other and sang Christmas songs and played soccer. There's pictures of it and everything. And they got in huge trouble for it, because if you make friends with the enemy, it's hard to make your enemy stop being alive, as any soldier who's watching this, any veteran would know who's watching this. So, great movie. Gives you a pretty good idea of the trench warfare and everything else, and if you want to have your heart completely ripped out, watch the very, very last episode of Blackadder. And, for a comedy show, oh my god, will you cry. Anyway, so that was World War I. And it ended with that cutesy number, 11-11-11. They thought that would be so fun. The fact that more people died, I'm pretty sure this is right, more people died between midnight and 11 a.m. in 1918 in that war than all of D-Day combined. And if I'm wrong, it's pretty close, because the two documentaries I usually watch every Veterans Day, I didn't do it today. There's the BBC one called The Great War, or World War I. They're both called the same thing. There's World War I for the BBC, hosted by Michael Palin, and it tells the English version. And then there's the History Channel World War I, or the last day of World War I. That's what they're both called. And so the one from the History Channel is the American version / European, but Michael Palin's is definitely the British version. But I didn't watch them today, sorry. So what I did is, during the pandemic, we have students on site where I'm at, and I'm allowed to teach whatever I want as long as it has something to do with science. So I did the science of World War One. I won't torture you with all the science of World War One, but I will show you for the brief history of World War One. This is the illustration of the signing of the Armistice on the train in Francois. And then down here is the real life picture. For those of you that love World War II, you will know what Hitler had happened to that train, because that train was not forgotten by Mr. You-know-who. And then here is a collection of the pictures I showed the students. And this is from 2010, 2010. This one is from, I don't see the year on this one. There's an eagle hiding in there. And then this one is from 2015. Pretty cool. And then down here we have the different emblems for the different branches. And then I just like this picture, and I introduced them to the concept of, that the Americans were called the doughboys. And they said, well, which one of these guys died? I'm like, yeah, they kind of all died. I introduced them to the idea of Flanders Field and the red poppy, and how everybody but America pretty much is on board for the red poppy. And then this was a picture from Seattle on the first ever Armistice Day, which is what it was called until it was 20 years later, so 1938, it was called Armistice Day. And this was Seattle, and they had a big party, and then New York went like all out crazy. They were like, yay, we're not doing war anymore, woohoo! People celebrate Armistice Day. This is the actual day. This isn't a year later, this is the actual year. They were very, very happy that people stopped killing people, and who can blame them? And then I showed them the picture of the trench warfare, and let's see, American troops cheering upon hearing of the news that the armistice had been signed, ending the fighting of World War One. Yeah, it only counted if your general didn't make you actually wait till 11 o'clock, which is definitely explored in those documentaries. And then this picture, which, I photocopy it, so they didn't get to see it in color, so it was just hideous in black and white. But these are the poppies outside of the Tower of London. So it went from Armistice Day, and then it got renamed Veterans Day in 1954 because the World War II people and the Korean people are like, hey, there's others of us that are being shot at. And, the World War I folks, they're kind of fading away. So how about us? And so they changed it to Veterans Day, so yay. Eventually, Europe would change it to Remembrance Day instead of Veterans Day. And then there was the hoo-ha in the 70s where in America, they changed the holidays for all of them to be on Mondays so that government employees could have a 3-day holiday. Boy, I don't know who said it first, but the greatest way to make somebody stop caring about something is give them the day off for it and call it a holiday. Yeah, such a true statement. Well, anyways, they did that, and the army people went nuts, and by army I mean military. The military people went nuts, like, you cannot move this to a Monday. It must be 11/11/11 because those people died and sacrificed for it. You got to put it back on 11/11/11. Took 4 years to get it fixed and went back, and now it is back on Veterans Day, is on 11/11/11 again. But don't feel bad. Those government employees, if 11/11/11 happens to fall on a Monday or a Sunday, they still get Monday off. And if it falls on a Saturday, they still get Friday off. They will get their extra day off of pay, whatever. Okay, so that's my very, very brief history of World War I and Veterans Day's history. Oh, and all the websites wanted me to point this out, so I will point this out to you. The difference between Memorial Day and Veterans Day, because apparently a lot of regular folk can't tell the difference. In short, Veterans Day is to celebrate and remember those living veterans. You can remember and celebrate the dead ones on that day. There's no penalty against it, but it's mainly focused on the living, whereas Memorial Day is the exact opposite. Memorial Day is designed to remember those who have fallen and couldn't get back up. But you're still allowed to say thank you to the living soldiers on Memorial Day as well. And hopefully by then, we will be able to be out and about and actually celebrate that one proper. But nonetheless, so there you go. We hope you enjoyed it. It's a little bit different take on this channel where we usually do hardcore political stuff and a lot of movie reviews and TV reviews as well. But since I didn't get to participate in the Veterans Day celebration that I have celebrated forever, I felt really horrible about it because you guys, if you're a veteran, you guys, you gals, you mean a lot to all of us. And it's so important that we show you. So I'm showing you. Thank you very much from the bottom of my heart. And we will see you in the future.